Hey everybody, it's me, Roger. Back with something a little different. I don't know if you're like me and you're really into music and you're really into records. Probably really into books about music and books about records, and maybe have quite a shelf full of such items. I'm one of those people. I used to work in academic libraries. I met my wife at a library, and she's a librarian here in Nashville, and yeah, so I thought I'd do something else. I thought I'd talk about some of my favorite writers about music and show some of their books. And I'm going to start with probably really one of my very favorite writers about music. He's so good. John Corbett. Not the stupid right-wing actor. No, John Corbett. Based in Chicago. Done a lot of writing over the years, and ran the Empty Bottle, or put on a festival at the Empty Bottle in Chicago. And hey, Carm, if you're watching, you probably know about the Empty Bottle and the Velvet Lounge, and he's kind of a real fixture in the Chicago scene. And now he's opened a gallery called Corbett and Dempsey, which is more focused on visual art. Anyways, fantastic writer. I didn't know anything about him, but I was on my honeymoon in 1994. Yes, been married a long time. In San Francisco at City Lights Bookstore. See, I even still have the bookmark from City Lights Bookstore. Happy birthday, happy 100th birthday to Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Still going. The City Lights is still going. And I saw this book. I didn't know anything about the guy, but boy, it looked great. Extended play, sounding off from John Cage to Dr. Funkenstein. Duke University Press. It was newly published. Bunch of essays, everything from really like academic kind of stuff to journalism and interviews and record reviews. And it's, you know, people like Derek Bailey and Anthony Braxton and Sun Ra, lots of Sun Ra and George Clinton, and really fantastic book. Really blew my mind. Because of his Catholicism and his tastes. Like, he's not just like a jazz guy. He's like into rock, and he's into everything, you know. And he's into records. He's into material culture, as he would put it, like the material thing, you know, not just the abstract idea of free jazz, but like the actual free jazz artifact. Anyway, I was like, wow, this is freaking excellent. I read it and reread it numerous times over the years, and it's still in print, and it's highly, highly, highly recommended. I mean, he's got a new book out I'm going to show later, but his writing has only gotten better. You know, he's able to do like the real highfalutin academic jargon-filled stuff, but do it with a sense of humor and with a readability that a lot of that stuff never manages to rise to. So yeah, like even his kind of hardcore academic writing is worth reading because, you know, he there's a point to it, and it's readable, and he has a sense of humor about what he's up to. And, you know, so he has a PhD from Northwestern, but he isn't like, you must call me Dr. Corbett, you know. Well, it's like that, the guy. So between then and 2000, what is this? When did this come out? 2015 was his next collection of writing. Now, he continued to write and stuff. Apparently, in the introduction to this, a micro groove, forays into other music. Great picture of Joe McPhee on the cover, great Chicago saxophonist. According to the introduction, he actually started putting this together you know, around the turn of the century, and wrote an introduction, and, you know, it was going to be published, and then he like put it aside, and then he pulled it out again 5 years later, wrote another introduction, put it aside. It wasn't until 2015 that this version of the book and a new introduction comes out, and again, it's terrific. It's, you know, I think his writing got even better, you know, over the 10 years represented here. And so again, you have some academic stuff, you have some journalism, you have some interviews, and, you know, a lot of his faves are in here, you know, that, you know, lots of Sun Ra and Steve Lacy and Milford Graves and more Braxton, more Sun Ra. And here's another thing about this guy, is that he writes so well about music. we can get to his next book that is really, it really puts it to the test. But, you know, as someone who's tried to do it, writing about music is really, really hard, especially if you don't want to veer into like technical stuff, you know, because that's only meaningful to other musicians. And even then, honestly, I don't think that is really all that helpful, you know, to know, oh, that's A major and whatever. So what, you know? He actually gets at to like the essence of it, not just in descriptive terms, but in like, you know, what is it? What does it mean? What is it? How does it make you feel? What, you know, what's going on with the musicians who are making it? He's so good. He's such a good writer. So good. So good. Highly recommended. And so then, this came out in 2016, but University of Chicago Press, A Listener's Guide to Free Improvisation. Sort of designed like a field guide, you know, like if you're a birder, if you go hunting birds, you'll have a little field guide to like, you know check off the yellow-rumped warbler. Check it off. So it's sort of like a guide to like, oh, if you find free improvisation perplexing, you know, this is strategies or ways to, you know, a guide to, you know, how you might get into it. And damn if he doesn't pull it off. Again, without resorting to like technical stuff, without resorting to like, you know, what's the term, you know, argument from authority, you know, like, oh, he's the great, Ornette Coleman did it, so that's great, and it is, because it is. Tautologies, you know. It's so smart, so good, so descriptive, and, you know, I can't, and again, with a sense of humor and a readability that is so lacking in so much writing about music that, you know, I don't have any trouble with free improvisation, obviously, and I still found this enlightening and particularly, I mean, he does play, but he is able, I think, to get outside of the player's mentality and write for someone who doesn't know anything about music but is interested in music, likes music. I mean, who doesn't love music? This is a wonderful, wonderful book. Yeah, so cheers, everybody. There's not a whole lot of these, so it's not going to be a super long video. Cheers. And Christine? Yum, yum. Okay, so during this time, Corbett wrote a mostly monthly column for Downbeat magazine called Vinyl Freak, Love Letters to a Dying Medium. Now, y'all in the VC might be going, what do you mean dying medium? What do you mean? What do you mean dying? What do you mean? CDs are dead. Now, don't worry. He addresses all that in here. Because this not only collects those columns which came out originally from, like 2000 to, let's see, yeah, here, I'll give you the exact dates. So 2000 to 2012, and then they pulled the plug on it. Now, of course, by 2012, the vinyl renaissance was in full swing. I had already made a freaking vinyl record myself. They're still available. Go to my Bandcamp page, you can get one. So he acknowledges how things have changed. So the articles started, the column started as like, oh, here's some jazz records, mostly jazz records that aren't on CD. You know, that was still something, it was like the measure of like, oh, in print, out of print was like, was there ever a CD issue of something? You know, did it ever come out on CD? So it's some pretty obscure stuff. And again, it shows his unbelievably Catholic taste. I mean, some of this stuff is super duper obscure. Some of it I know from the VC, but he also has like a taste for pretty straight ahead 50s stuff that isn't really in my taste, but I read what he has to say about it and I want to hear it, and that's the sign of a great writer, And so that it reproduces the covers is really, really nice. Sometimes he'll add a little postscript. This came out in 2016, I believe. He'll add a little postscript, and he did a little thing at the end, things he was going to write about, but before they pulled the plug on it. And most interestingly, the last chapter, well, I guess it's not the last chapter. It's a whole section here on, it's called Anything Can Happen Day, Sun Ra, Alton Abraham, and the Taming of the Freak. And it's the story of how he came to came into possession of Alton Abraham's, what was left of his house after Alton Abraham died. Now, the legend kind of went that, oh, he found it all in a dumpster and then took it out of the dumpster. And that's like, no, that's not exactly what happened. He like had to kind of pay for it and like hire a truck. And really fascinating story. And you get the sense of like, just how committed this guy is. And so the Taming of the Freak, it turns out that that whole thing, he wound up, well, it was in storage for a while. He tried to make it available, and he finally gave some of it to the University of Chicago and some of it to set up the sound recordings are in a special other place. But it's been dispersed for the most part, and it cured his vinyl addiction. So it's not just those columns. There's also some contemporary writing on this, including that story about Sun Ra, and the first edition comes with a flexi disc from that archive. So this would be from probably late 50s. I have not pulled it out and listened to it. It's a Good Day, Peggy Lee, Dave Barbour song. Not really sure. So that's kind of cool. Good stuff. I mean, again, even though he writes about things that I wouldn't normally care about, I go, you know, he really makes me want to hear it. So, during that time where he had taken possession of all this Sun Ra stuff and of the ephemera and sound recordings and papers and contracts and writings and just, you know, a huge storage container and a half, like, you know, a couple of trucks worth of stuff. He put on some exhibits, including this one, Pathways to Unknown Worlds, Sun Ra, El Saturn, and Chicago's Afrofuturist Underground, 1954 to 1968. This is the, this would be the, I guess, the catalog for the exhibit. And it's a wonderful, it's too bad these are out of print, but it, you know, contains like some of the original artwork and like the plate, like the original. And again, some nice essays and, yeah, a great picture of Sonny at the piano there. Now, my friend Sam Bird actually went to that exhibit in, where did he see it? Philadelphia, maybe? Anyway, he sent me the little handout from the exhibit. That's cool. So these are really nice. And then there's a supplementary volume called The Wisdom of Sun Ra, also published by White Walls. This is in 2006. So this is like Sun Ra's typewritten, you know, in the late 40s, early 50s, he was kind of like a street preacher kind of guy, and he would like, and it's pretty crazy stuff. It's pretty crazy stuff. Days of Vengeance. So it's all that facsimile stuff, and then actual transcription of it, which is, you know, that's awesome. Yeah, this is also out of print, as is this. This came out in 2010 after the traveling exhibit had kind of concluded, and it's called Traveling Spaceways, Sun Ra, the Astro Black and Other Solar Myths, which is more stuff, you know, like that kind of thing, and more essays and stuff that came out of programs and panels, and yeah, it's Sun Man. Yeah, these are beautiful little objects that sadly out of print. This, you can still get copies of this. He edited this volume called Sun Ra and I. Aton Space Interiors and Exteriors, 1972. I can't find a year on this. Probably around 2010. And again, this is I. Aton's artwork. He was involved in the Space is the Place movie. There's some stills from the Space is the Place movie. And some, yeah, I guess he did some murals at the place where they were living in Oakland at the time, very briefly, and then a bunch of his art. It's really quite something. Yeah. Yeah, when I was deep in my Summer Sundays thing, I like had to have anything that had to do with Summer, so that's why I got those when I did, and I'm glad I did. They're really beautiful little objects. The rest of his books are still in print and highly recommended, and this just came out, just got in the mail, hardcover from University of Chicago Press, yes. Pick Up the Pieces, Excursions in 70s Music. Now what's interesting about this is, aside from one essay, it appears that this is all new writing, and it's constructed year by year. So in 1970, he writes about the Kinks' Lola and Black Sabbath's Paranoid and some other things. 71, Joni Mitchell's Blue and Genesis' Nursery Crime. 1972, 73, and all the way up till 1980, and you get one entry, and it's Grace Jones's Warm Leatherette, which, when you think about it, that kind of really does sum it up, doesn't it? So this is going to be awesome. I have not started this yet, but I wanted to bring your attention to it because you know, you can get the hardcover pretty cheap for a while anyway, and not sure when the soft cover will come out. Probably not till next year. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. Anyway, John Corbett, not the stupid right-wing actor, the excellent Chicago-based writer, curator, gallerist, all-around dude. Check it out. Highly recommended. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really wanted to share that because it's great. Because it's great. That's why. Do I need any other reason? No, I don't. Okay. Take care, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.